Love, Fame, and Betrayal Part 2. Sharon's world became a haze of unanswered questions and sleepless nights. She tried to keep things together for the kids, for their home, for the life they had built. But as the days passed, it became harder and harder to ignore the truth. Ben was slipping further away from her, and no matter how much she tried to hold on, the distance between them grew wider. She couldn't deny it anymore. The rumors, the late nights, the overseas trips, everything was pointing to something Sharon wasn't ready to face. She wanted to believe in Ben. She wanted to believe that he was still the man she had married, the man who once held her close and whispered promises of a bright future. But each passing day felt like a cruel reminder that fame had changed him. One evening, after Ben returned from yet another tour, Sharon tried to confront him once more. They were sitting in their living room, the dim glow of the lamp casting long shadows on the walls. The kids were asleep, their small breaths filling the silence of the house. Sharon could feel her heart pounding in her chest, the anxiety building up as she finally spoke. "Ben, I can't keep pretending that everything is fine," Sharon said, her voice trembling. "I've been hearing things, seeing things. And I know you're not being honest with me." Ben looked at her, a frown crossing his face. "Sharon, please. Not this again. It's all just rumors. You know that. You can't keep listening to gossip." Sharon stood up, her hands shaking as she placed them on the back of the chair. "I want to believe you, Ben. I really do. But every time you're not here, I feel like I'm losing you. And these rumors, these pictures, they are too much for me to ignore. I need you to choose. I need to know if I'm still the woman you want or if I'm just a part of your past." Ben's face hardened, and for a moment, Sharon wondered if he even understood the weight of what she was saying. His eyes seemed clouded, as if the fame had completely overtaken the man he once was. "Sharon, you're overreacting. I'm doing all of this for us. I'm working hard, trying to secure our future. You need to trust me." Sharon could feel her frustration rising. "I am trusting you, Ben. But you're not here. You're never here. And when you are, you're distant, like you're somewhere else, like I don't matter anymore." There was a long silence between them. Ben didn't speak, and Sharon could see the guilt flicker across his face, but it was fleeting, buried under layers of pride and ego. "I'm tired, Ben," Sharon whispered, her voice breaking. "I'm tired of fighting for something I can't even see anymore. I love you. I always have. But this isn't what we promised each other. This isn't what we built." Ben didn't reply. Instead, he turned his attention to his phone, scrolling through messages as if trying to escape the conversation. Sharon stood there, a sinking feeling spreading through her chest. She had tried, for so long, to hold on to this life, this family, but it felt like she was the only one still fighting. Days turned into weeks, and things only seemed to get worse. Ben continued to travel, his social media filled with selfies and pictures from exotic locations, Dubai, Paris, New York, places that had once been part of their shared dreams. But now, it was all about his brand, his image. Sharon was no longer a part of those dreams. She was a distant memory, a footnote in his rise to fame. And yet, Sharon stayed. She stayed for the kids, for the life they had, and for the hope that Ben would come back to her. But each time he walked through the door, it felt like more of a stranger was standing there. The man who once promised her that he would never let the fame change him was now someone she didn't recognize. One evening, Sharon decided to take the kids to the park to get some fresh air. She needed to clear her mind. She couldn't stand the way her chest ached every time she looked at Ben anymore. She needed space, even if it was just for a few hours. As she walked with her kids, she saw couples, families, people laughing, and enjoying the simple things in life. For the first time in a long while, Sharon realized how far she had drifted from her own happiness. The life she had dreamed of, the one she had hoped for, was slipping away, and Ben was so caught up in his world that he didn't even see it. When they returned home, Ben was there, sitting in their living room, his eyes glued to his phone as usual. Sharon looked at him one last time, her heart heavy. She couldn't keep doing this. She couldn't keep fighting for a relationship that only existed in her mind. The next morning, Sharon made a decision. It wasn't easy, but it was one she had known she had to make for a while now. She walked into the bedroom, where Ben was still asleep, and sat down on the edge of the bed. She watched him for a moment, the man she had once adored, and felt a mixture of love and sorrow. But it wasn't just the fame that had broken them, it was the distance, the emotional neglect, the lies. Sharon wasn't sure if they could ever go back to the way things were. She had to let go. She quietly packed a bag for herself and the kids, slipping out of the house without waking Ben. She knew it was time to leave. For her sanity, for her peace of mind, she had to walk away. The months after Sharon's decision to leave were both painful and liberating. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she was in control of her own life, even though the weight of her choice still lingered. She would lie awake some nights, staring at the ceiling, wondering if she had done the right thing. Had she made the right choice for herself and the kids? Could she have tried harder to make it work? But then, in the quiet moments when her children laughed or curled up beside her, she realized that the decision was about more than just her marriage. It was about protecting her peace, her mental health, and her future. She wasn't sure if she would ever fully heal from the hurt that Ben's fame had caused, but she knew she was on the right path. And that was enough for now. Ben's attempts to reconnect became more persistent. He called almost every week, sending long text messages, sometimes leaving voicemails. He would even show up at the apartment, hoping for a conversation, hoping for a second chance. Sharon always greeted him with a cool politeness, but in her heart, she knew she couldn't let him back in, not the way he was now. One day, he arrived at the apartment unannounced. Sharon was sitting in the living room, reading a book to the kids, when she heard the familiar sound of the doorbell. She wasn't expecting anyone, and when she opened the door to see Ben standing there, a storm of emotions surged through her. He looked tired, his face older, the bags under his eyes more pronounced. "Sharon," he said softly, "can we talk?" Sharon hesitated. She wasn't sure if she was ready for this conversation, but at the same time, she couldn't avoid it forever. With a deep breath, she stepped aside and let him in. They sat down in the living room, the kids playing in the corner, blissfully unaware of the tension in the air. Sharon's heart ached as she looked at Ben. He still had that familiar warmth in his eyes, the one that had once made her fall in love with him. But she had to remind herself that the man sitting in front of her wasn't the same person she had married. Fame had changed him. And perhaps, so had she. "I know I messed up," Ben began, his voice shaky. "I've hurt you in ways I can't even begin to explain. But I'm sorry, Sharon. I'm so sorry. I don't know who I was becoming, and I hate myself for it. But I love you. I've always loved you." Sharon's heart twisted, the words she had longed to hear now a painful reminder of what had been lost. "Ben," she said softly, "I know you love me. But love isn't enough to fix everything. You changed. You were never there for me, for us. I was always waiting for you to come back, but you never did. I don't know if I can ever go back to that place with you." Ben's eyes welled up with tears. "Sharon, please. Don't say that. We can make this work. I'll do anything. I'll change. I swear I will." Sharon shook her head, the pain in her chest almost too much to bear. "I don't know if you can change, Ben. You're not the man I married anymore. I don't even know who you are. The silence hung between them, heavy and suffocating. Sharon could feel the tears threatening to spill, but she held them back. She had cried so many times before. She had cried for the man she once knew, for the family they once had. But now, she had to let go of that fantasy. Ben stood up, pacing the room, frustration and regret evident in every step he took. Sharon, I can't lose you. I can't lose my family. I've made mistakes, yes. But please don't take the kids away from me. I'll do better. I'll be a better man. Sharon stood up as well, her resolve hardening. It's not just about the kids, Ben. It's about us. I can't live in a relationship that feels like it's always one-sided. I need to find myself again. I need to be whole, not just a part of someone else's broken dream. And as much as I love you, I need to let go. Ben's face fell, his shoulders slumping in defeat. He stared at Sharon for a long moment, his eyes full of regret but also understanding. I'll always love you, Sharon. Always. And I'll never stop trying to make it right. But I know now that it's too late. Sharon didn't say anything. She couldn't. She knew that Ben's love, no matter how genuine, couldn't heal the wounds that had been inflicted over the years. The fame, the neglect, the lies, they had all piled up, and now there was no going back. As Ben turned to leave, Sharon felt a strange sense of peace wash over her. This chapter of her life was ending, but she was no longer afraid of what the future held. She had her children, she had her own strength, and she had the courage to face whatever came next. As time passed, Sharon adjusted to life as a single mother. Ben, who had once been her world, moved on entirely. News of his marriage to another woman spread quickly, but Sharon felt no jealousy, only a deep sadness for what could have been. It wasn't his new life that hurt her, but his sudden shift in priorities. Ben stopped showing any concern for her or the children, but his messages grew colder and more aggressive. He began threatening to fight for custody of their children, warning her that he would come for them soon. Sharon, though shaken, held her ground. She had always been their constant, their safe haven, and she wasn't going to let anyone, not even Ben, disrupt their peace. Her children gave her strength during these trying times. Watching them grow, laugh, and thrive reminded her why she had made the decision to leave. It wasn't for herself alone, it was for them. Sharon poured herself into being the best mother she could be, creating a warm, stable home filled with love and security. Every step she took toward rebuilding her life reminded her of her strength. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. One evening, Sharon sat with her kids on the porch, watching the sunset. As her daughter curled up beside her and her son excitedly recounted his day, she realized something profound. Her life wasn't perfect, but it was hers. She was no longer living in the shadow of someone else's dreams or suffering under the weight of their choices. She had reclaimed her happiness and her peace, and no one could take that from her. Sharon's journey hadn't been easy, and there were still challenges ahead. But she had learned to trust in her own strength, to stand tall in the face of adversity, and to protect the peace she had worked so hard to find. For the first time in years, she felt truly free. Sharon's story is a powerful reminder that no matter how hard life gets, you can rise above it. Even when it feels like the world is crumbling around you, there's always a way to rebuild. You have the strength within you to choose yourself, to fight for your happiness, and to create a better future for yourself and those you love. If Sharon's journey resonated with you, let it inspire you to take control of your own story. Hit the like button if you believe in the power of resilience and share this video to encourage someone who may need it. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of hope, strength, and transformation. The end.